Well, the funniest guest I've had.
Well, but we haven't even started the episode yet. That's a foreshadowing thought. But
Well,
thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on, Krista. Christian
He's just
Hull.
nervous because I'm in his house and the bedroom. We had a tour and you showed me the bedroom.
and I got all nervous because you started breathing heavily.
We really lingered in the bedroom. Well, you're going to shake my hand.
I was like, this is my pregnancy pillow.
You should lie down and experience it.
Yeah,
but you got to take your clothes off.
Yeah, scoop it around your neck and through your legs. It's
wow.
perfect. It's like a pretzel.
Yeah,
a Pringle.
I love that you bought a pregnancy pillow and you use it.
Well, when Amy's away.
Oh, I was going to say, when she's not away.
Well, she also is like on the other side of the pillow. So it goes down the middle because she sits on her phone at night going and like giggling and carrying on. Right. So I've got this like barrier between us.
Yeah, because you get up at like 4 in the morning.
Yeah, and I don't want to hear the laughing. It's quite funny, but I'm also
How dare she have fun?
While I'm sleeping.
In her own home.
I get FOMO. I'm like, go sit out in the lounge.
I know, that's so annoying though. Yes, because you'd be like, oh, what are they laughing at? You're peering over.
Yeah, and then Amy's like, just look at this one.
Oh, I'm sleeping.
Like, I've been asleep for 10 minutes. Let me go. Just send it to me and I'll check it out in the morning.
I've just done another marathon. Leave me alone.
I don't wake up at 4 a.m. and go on my phone, Amy, look at this sofa. Slapping you.
Ow!
Yeah.
Ow! Oh, my muscular arm. Oh, it should be worth noting that you are my personal trainer.
I was actually gonna do a proper introduction. Now I was just it's just fun, just shooting the shit. But anyway, Mr. Hull, I've seen your latest tour show 4 times. You followed me all around for my honeymoon, or did I follow you?
No, we definitely. That was intentional.
That was planned.
We followed you and Amy to all your destinations.
And you said, hey, we're here. You should come see our show.
Come to the show. We're not selling many tickets. Bring everyone you know.
No, it was a great show.
Thank you.
But you're also one of my favourite clients, most valued clients. Ooh, is it too early for that?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of your clients would be listening and watching.
Yeah, but they're all valued.
They're all valued. I lie to each one of them and tell them that they are my favourite.
I didn't say you're my favourite. I said you're one of my favourite. Ugh. So it's language. It works really well. You know that. You're a comedian.
Just devalued that. Yeah,
but
whatever.
We were just saying...
Who's the favourite?
No, we're not answering these questions.
Is it Brad?
Anyway, welcome to episode 404.
Jesus Christ.
I know, it's quite
a lot.
Yeah.
I've been doing podcasting for 5 years and I'm only up to 330.
Well, get your shit together.
Yeah.
Call yourself a professional?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Well, I'm not, so I just go off a whim.
You're definitely not.
Well, as you said, you were like the 4th call-in for today's episode.
Yeah, yes. Well, I'm glad I was 4th on the list.
Yeah.
Emergency guest.
Well, that was the list I wrote down this morning, but there was another list. I lost it.
Oh, who? Do you have a go-to emergency?
No, I don't, no.
Okay.
Apart from the episode with Amy on
That was a really good one.
Did you like it?
Yes.
It's interesting.
Have Amy on more.
I will.
Yeah.
I think I should.
Yeah.
Amy, if you're listening, hit me up.
Yeah. She's fled to America.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to hear from you for a month.
I'm sick of this podcast. I'm going to the States.
But as we were saying before, like the intention of this show is to get people like yourself who've done amazing stuff, and because people have an idea of how they view you, right? You're in the social eye. You've got over 1 million followers on all platforms. How many are on TikTok?
3 million.
Yes. Sorry.
3 million.
I didn't do my research. 3 million followers. That's pretty impressive.
Quite a lot, yeah.
I've only got 18,000, so
that's still impressive.
I'm in the big league.
I mean, that's still
but that's
a
not
good
including
amount.
other things. That's just the gram.
But the new thing is micro influencers.
Yeah,
that's where sponsors are going.
Am I a micro influencer?
Yes, they don't care about me. With my 3 million, God, I'm trying to sell myself so badly. They go to the micro. Anyway, I don't know if that's a fun fact, but yeah.
Well, it is a fun fact. So, any advertisers knock on my door, and I'm still not going to choose you.
Oh, you heard it here first.
Yeah, next week. This episode is sponsored by
Whey Protein.
Thank you. No, but overcoming adversity, because obviously to get 3 million followers, you would have had to take in some risks. There would have been a lot of what people, successes along the way, but also people have an idea of who you are. They probably don't understand the sacrifices and the adversity that you've overcome, but this show is all about getting inside the minds of people who have achieved great things and really finding out what that experience was really like. Because for me, the one thing that I wanted was to have access to people and men from all walks of life who were successful in various fields, not just business-wise, but, as mates, had great lifestyles, really good partners, and I wanted to know, obviously, and everyone can write a book about success, but it's like, okay, well, what sacrifices did you make? What fights did you have? What doubt did you have? Did the media, because I know you cop shit online, and I was watching a video the other week where...
the one where I wrote down?
Yeah, where you set up a Patreon, and it's like, I understand what it's like for you, because obviously we talk, but then also seeing Amy's business, and people don't understand that you've got a team of people behind you. It's not just you pulling your phone out and going, let's get TikTok in.
Yeah. So I think if you have no idea who I am, basically I spent 9 years in radio and then left, and now, I don't like saying, oh, make TikToks, but that's what I do. I guess paint colours a couple of times, and those TikToks went completely viral.
Yep.
Ended up, I got a call from the Ellen Show. I was on BBC Radio. I was on...
What was that like?
I was in Time Magazine for TikToks guessing random paint colours. Of all the things, like a 15-year career that I've worked so hard for, and then this one time I'm sitting in a chair making a TikTok going, I think that's yellow, and then the internet explodes. It's so weird. That's the best description of being on TikTok.
Do you understand how it works yet?
No, I have no idea how any of it works. So I did radio. I wanted to be Carl Sandilands. That was why I got into radio. I wanted to be like this well-known Australian breakfast host.
Yep.
And I loved Kyle and Jackie O when I was younger. And I still.
Well, you did say
controversial.
I actually don't mind them, to be honest. But you did say the other day that there was a video of you saying to your parents, "I'm going to be famous one day."
Yeah, Mum videoed every conceivable moment of our childhood. And she was like, what would you like to be when you grow up? And I was like the gayest little kid. I want to be famous. And I was like in sequins. And my parents didn't realise I was gay. Yeah, what a shallow, would you like to save lives or improve society? No, I want to be famous. For saving lives? No, just like for doing something on television. And I was so embarrassed about that clip for so long, and I never brought it up. And then I was like, oh, no, that's who I am.
That is me too.
And I got here, goal achieved. Guessing paint colours made me famous. It's so ridiculous.
At what point did you start to realise that was going to be a possibility? Was it literally the paint colours, or take us back a little bit, leaving radio? Yeah. What was your role in radio?
So I started...
Actually, sorry, one thing you said before, going back to the Kyle Sandilands part, you aspired to be like Kyle.
Yeah.
Why didn't that happen?
Look, I loved Kyle and Jackie O, and I loved what they were doing on their show. It was a very different radio show. They broke the third wall, or the fourth wall, as they say. Their producers were in on the show. If something went wrong, they called it out. Because radio's live.
Yep.
So it wasn't this slick operation. So they brought you into the show, and I just loved that. So I was like, I want to do that. I love...
Should I bring my producers?
Emily. No, shh. God, there's so many of them. Look at them all.
Look at all my staff sitting behind the camera.
Wow, thousands. You're doing so well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
And I was like, that's what I want to do. And he is still well respected in the industry. He's controversial.
He's very controversial.
He says things that I don't agree with, but he's highly respected, earns a lot of money, and was very well known. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to host a breakfast show in Sydney. Go. And so I spent years in community radio, doing radio courses, going to radio schools, and then I got into commercial radio from the bottom, just pushing the buttons at midnight. Add, play. And then it just progressed up, and slowly I would bounce sort of up the ladder. Yep. Assistant music director, scheduling the music, producing. I was on air for a brief period of time, but I was... quickly came to the realisation that maybe I was a little bit too gay. And I was in Newcastle, in New South Wales, which is a beautiful town, but
What do you mean by too gay?
People that are listening to this probably still confused to whether they're listening to a woman in her mid-40s who's a heavy smoker or a 35-year-old, fatty from Brisbane. So I'm very camp and very loud and just gay. I don't know... When you say, what do you mean? I don't know. I'm just like a gay person. There's not a dick in my mouth at the moment, but there probably will be. Okay, not yours. As in, I'll go home.
Amy's like, whoa.
She already messaged me before when I was thirsting after you when you were rowing. Yeah. She's like, no, that is my husband.
That was the funniest. The other day at the final row, Sam, and his family gave me a tray of like sweets
Baked
and
goods.
baked goods, and there was one with myself in just like pants rowing.
Yeah, they had printed off, and like I don't know. Food is insane. Food science, and there was a photo of you shirtless, just rowing mid-row, and I was like,
delicious.
I will eat that, please. Just took it to the kids, being like, I'm hungry. I was like, no, that's mine.
yeah.
I pushed them out of the way. yeah, that was a bit aggressive. Sorry about that.
But so going back to
so ultimately, I was doing a lot of red carpets. Like it was the traditional, stereotypical gay things: entertainment reporter, red carpets, and little side things for Mardi Gras.
Yeah,
which I loved doing those. They were so fun. But then it was like, can I host a shift like the other people? Can I do stuff? And they let me do it, but in a polite way. They were telling me that maybe,
don't be who you are.
Maybe not. Just change this, do this, and that's a bit better.
How did you feel about that when you sort of started thinking, like becoming aware of that?
That is radio. That is just the industry.
Yeah.
But it ultimately, when I was like, oh, I'm being prejudiced against, and I talked to everyone else, no, that's what radio is. They go, you talk less, play this more. It didn't really matter who you were.
Yep.
Radio bosses have in their mind how they want their station to sound, and they don't give a shit. And they just like, in you come and do this a little bit and do that and talk like this. And it's like 20 seconds. So an announcer in the day, so from 9 p.m. to 3 p.m., those shifts, you've got like 20 seconds to talk every 20 minutes or so. And so you get in and you do this, you're like, these are no fun whatsoever.
Yep.
You've got to highlight the breakfast show, talk about the competitions, hook the songs, and trying to do that creatively over and over and over again. There's only so many times you can do it. And so I was like, fuck that. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And it was really camp. And they were like, no.
Stay in
a
the
bit
box.
too creative. And it's too, like, you're doing what we would want on a drive show, like an afternoon show where they allow a bit more freedom. We just want you to just push that button and say, Taylor Swift is playing. Like, I was like, oh, that's boring. And so I realised that this is...
You're supposed to say Shepherd's playing.
Oh, sorry. Now, Shepherd with Geronimo. And what's the Valley song?
Coming home.
Oh, God, I love that song. I'm now lost. Where was I?
They're pushing the button.
God. That's a great song. Can we have an interlude?
Yeah.
And now we take a moment in Lockie's podcast and play that.
To plug the
because you'd have the musical rights for that, wouldn't you?
No, I don't. Like, I can literally...
Amy doesn't own... Well, no, it'll be owned by...
Well, they do, but whenever you put it on, it gets ripped down because then they have to email a publisher and it's crazy. It's a big fuck around. But that's another thing people don't understand.
Oh, yeah, you can't actually play...
Your own music.
Or anything No. No, like if Amy had a podcast, she couldn't play her own music because of... It's good in a way because of all the red flags that go off to say you don't own that.
Yep.
But it's like, oh no, this is my podcast. But everyone else, yeah. Anyway, we really got sidetracked there.
Yeah, we did, but that's fine.
The story of my life, I get sidetracked a lot.
You should see our training sessions.
Oh, no, don't look at those. They're just me complaining.
I can't wait to talk about that, but we're going to talk about that shortly. But going back to pushing buttons, you didn't fit into that.
No, so I learnt early on, I was like, oh, being gay is going to be a little bit of it's a gimmick, but then I can't.
What do you mean by a gimmick?
I put on a fairy outfit for the breakfast show in Newcastle and roamed around doing stunts.
Yep.
Fun, amazing, but that's a gimmick. Like, I'm the fairy.
Yep.
I can't be on air. Like, it's not, how do I transition from that?
That's like when I worked at Boost Juice and they dressed me up in a Boost cup.
Oh.
Like, I was never like the front of house. It's like, fucking dress up.
It would be like them going, oh, Lockie's just in to get his abs out. Yep. You're just an ab person. Yeah. But how do I transition from that to the CEO? Like, how? Okay. That you can't. Like, it's... In my head, I was like, okay, so how do I go from being the fairy to being Kyle? And so I tried all these different avenues and nothing was working. And I was young, so I was in my mid-20s, I say, is young and naive. Yep. So your 20s, you sort of... Everything's owed to you. And so for me, I was like, well, if I work hard and I just show initiative, they'll just be like, you're the next Kyle.
Here you go, Kyle.
And in I go. And that's genuinely what I thought would happen. Surprised it didn't. And then I just was like, well, what am I doing? And I bounced around to jobs that I didn't really like, went to Adelaide. produced a breakfast show, so it was the producing side.
Yep.
And that was the first taste where I was like, radio sucks. Like, it's not the fancy pants
Yep.
freedom that I thought it was. You're told what to say, when to say it. You don't get free tickets to stuff anymore. You know, like, radio is, in my view, this is going to sound like I'm really bitter about radio, and I'm not. I really appreciate my time there. But for me, TV and radio, I love that you're worried and looking at the camera like, oh God, what's he going to say?
No,
I don't understand people's obsession to get on radio or television. I'm like,
Well,
you have, like, social media is so much more powerful, and it reaches a global audience whenever and whomever can watch your stuff. TV, right? You were on the breakfast show on ABC.
Yeah.
It was only on for 2 minutes at 6,
Whatever time,
7,
yeah.
and there was 3. They did 3
Yeah.
crosses, and so
4.
it's if someone is 4. Sorry, wow, that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
then one Monday morning, you mustn't be subscribed to my channel. Nah.
No,
Anyway,
definitely not. I
4
actually don't
times.
watch anyone's content.
Either do I, to be honest.
Yeah, there's just no time.
Well, it's like
Amy does it for you.
yeah, I mean, you can tell me what's going on, but yeah, I literally don't follow people's content.
Yeah, neither do I.
I want to get better at it though. Well, I think it's good for engage. Like,
It's good to learn.
yeah, like
I've definitely followed a lot of people and learnt their
Yep.
tricks. Sorry, sidetracked again, and then I forgot what I was going to say.
no, we were definitely
was
just
I?
going down the route of having a global audience. Like
Yeah, so this obsession with TV and radio, I think it's generational because I'm 35, so we grew up with that.
Isn't it fascinating though? So being on the news, I think I was saying this to you on Monday. It's like as soon as people see you on the news, it gives you like an extra tick of approval. It's like, oh, he must be legit.
Yes,
and
it's very
like,
reputable.
I'm not doing anything different to what I've been doing the whole time or saying. But now all of a sudden people are like, the news, if it's good, but if it's good enough for the news.
Or the paper, if it's in the paper.
And journalism to me is fucking dead. Like, it is
Yes.
so bad.
Well, Twitter killed it.
Yeah.
Because what happens now is, you look at before the internet came in, journalism was, you had time, you had to be right, you checked your sources, and you had a story that, you could work on.
Yep.
Whereas Twitter has come in, and the internet and the news cycle is now, instead of being, 3 or 4 or 5 days, it's literally 12 hours.
Yeah.
So you've got to be the first on it. You've got to report it. Otherwise, it's been and gone.
Yep.
So that's why you get people going, this happened, this happened, this happened. None of it happened. And then apologising later. But they apologise down below. Also, none of it happened. Look, it's hard to blame the individual journalists, but it's the
Well, it's
the
a pressure
system.
in the system.
It's the
Yes.
system. Like, so I ended up falling into, yes, I fell in. I became a journalist, but I had no training and experience. So my role was to write articles for our entertainment website.
Yep.
And so that's a journalist reporting on things with no formal training. And so it was all terrible, gossipy style celebrity stuff. And I loved it because I loved getting the clicks, not necessarily the content of the story.
Yep.
So it was an awful, I look back at that and go, oh, I'm ashamed of, you clickbait the headline, you get the image that, you manipulate everything, and it's an absolute nothing story.
Yeah,
You could have tripped over, and in a video, we find the still where you're mid-fall, and you write, was Lachie drunk and stumbling? And you're like, oh, and they click it, and it's like, no, he was just out at a pub. And it's like, oh, you lead them.
But you just want them clicking.
But what happens is, because there's so much out there, you're scrolling. So they go, oh, Lachie was drunk and stumbling. Next.
Yeah.
They don't even want to click the story.
They don't read it. It's just like,
so
take
it
that
becomes... And that's why I'm like, I just don't believe anything in the media anymore.
Yeah,
Four Corners or the ABC, the real investigative stuff is pretty good.
Well, that's what I found. Even, I won't name the station, called me up after they saw me on another station, and they were like, hey, just want to do the story on you. Where are you finishing? And I was like, what's your fucking name, firstly?
Where are you finishing?
And then, finishing the row. Literally, obviously, I assumed it was about that. We want to be there, get the story. I was like, boom, I'm going to be here, finishing at 3. They're like, what time are you finishing? I was like, about this time. Cool, see you then. That was it. I was like, what are you going to report on if you don't even know why I'm doing it, what's it for? And then they just rock up with their fucking cameras and ask the most ridiculous questions that I'm like, I wouldn't put this question on my podcast. It's that bad. And so for me, that's when I'm like, they just want to get the story. And once again, no fault of theirs. It's that system. It's like they need to get the stories there.
But they want the visual.
Yeah.
It's clear that they just want the visual and they want to finish on something light and positive. It's the thing. It's like there's no time to go in.
Yep.
Like I know because your big thing is men's mental health.
Yep.
But it's like you go into that. Okay, why is your big thing men's mental health? Maybe there was a trauma or a story, and you go into that, and then you go back in and you build, like, Four Corners is great at going from the beginning.
Yep.
Lachie was at 3 years old, went through this, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Now we're really emotionally connected to the row. We're like, go! We don't know who you are, but they've brought us in, but there's no time to bring us in. It's just like, oh, he's rowing every day, and you're like, oh, great.
Fucking boring. Like, you can't even grasp the concept of it. There's no like development of anything. Even like with TikTok and stuff, there's no artist development or content creator development. It's just like, what's going to go viral? We'll throw everything at the wall and hope it sticks.
So radio taught me a really good lesson in a story. So radio was never like the internet and the news cycle is like that, but for me, commercial radio was what's the story arc was the big thing. Here's the start, here's the middle, here's the end. Everything was sort of planned. And it was always, how can you bring the listener in, tell that story as vividly as possible.
Yep.
And so that taught me the skills to, like, for example, not that this is any fault of yours.
It is.
But when we first started, I go into my head, okay, I'm talking to people who have no idea who I am. Whereas you sort of jump into, you've known who I am, we've done training, and now it's TikTok. It's like, whoa, who is this guy?
Yeah.
So you've got to, like, if you don't know who I am,
but that's what I do on the edit.
Oh, you do that in the intro. Okay.
So clearly Christian listens to the podcast.
I don't listen. I scrub through and then I watch your highlight videos. That's why highlight videos are so important.
The old clickbaits, essentially. And that's the other thing. It's like you got to get those sound bites.
It's all about the sound bites.
It's crazy but yeah, for me, it's like, and I probably should let people know that, but I always, once I've gotten listened to the episode, I'll then do a thing at the start where it's like, in this episode, Christian Hull, we talk about
A lot of people don't do that, and it's sort of, radio taught me, make sure that you're talking to someone who, you just stop them off the street.
Yep.
So you can't launch into something halfway through, or, the location, the time is important, you paint that sort of colour.
What?
Colour.
I have my watch on.
Paint colours.
23rd of June at 12:31.
Yes.
Is today.
Yeah, so I often, radio taught me all of these things, and while I didn't ultimately become Carl Sanderlands,
you became Christian Hull.
Yeah, which is like, I don't want to be Carl Sanderlands. Like, I'm really glad that ultimately I learned all of these things, and in the last 5 years of radio, Facebook exploded, and I picked up a camera, because I was just answering phones. Oh, yes, what's your favourite cheese? Oh, it's brie, putting you through. So boring.
Yeah.
And then there was filming and cameras and showcasing radio on Facebook. I was like, this is great. Editing clips, becoming a director. And then that's where that all started.
So you learned so many incredible skills, though, that have, like, so essentially as well, like, for those who look at Christian Hull and go, oh, he's an overnight success. It's like you had all those years in the trenches, doing late night shows, plugging away to develop your craft to get to where you are as well now.
Yeah, and at the time I didn't realise, because
you hated it.
Yeah, hate is a strong word.
Well, yeah.
I wasn't super passionate, but then as soon as I started doing stuff for myself, I was like, ooh,
I like it.
Oh, here's an avenue. And what's also handy is at the moment there's no bosses. No one telling me yes or no, which...
Well, that's what I do at the gym.
I pay you, yeah. So, yeah, that's where I get my fill. So you yell at me. You're the only one that can tell me what to do. But it's great. Now I'm my own boss, and I'm free to make whatever I want to, and there's no restrictions.
Yeah, you can literally be your authentic self.
And I'm making a shit ton of money doing it. It's so good.
Fucking boss. He just dropped off a few hundreds from me before.
Yeah, a few thousands.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
The new $1,000 bill. But that's the other thing as well, I think is important to share. Is like, you learn all of these skills. I've learned so many along the way. And even like the best thing, the reason why I started the podcast was to improve my communication. That's why they're all solo. And then I started getting guests on. And now it's like I get to talk to people like yourself who then, before we were on air, you're like, that camera there is pretty useless. You should do a camera here and a camera here. And I get to learn all of these skills and just perspectives from, obviously we're talking about the social media and the podcast, but we chat about politics and, all a range of stuff that I don't know much about, but find fascinating that I get to learn about from you. So for me, it's, I don't get paid for the podcast. I could, but I don't want to put ads there for people. But I like the fact that for me, it's like, well, I get to strengthen the muscle of communication. 2, I get taught stuff every single day.
But I would come in as now being the position where I'm at and what I've been through, having left radio and having my own business and going, there will come a time where you wish you put ads in that podcast because, you know, circumstances change.
Yeah.
And like I've recently have gone through where I was giving all my content away for free, totally fine.
Let's talk about this breakdown.
I was full-time in radio and also doing all my own sort of sketch comedy style things and videos and uploads. The big thing that exploded me out into Facebook was playing a character called Trish. So I put on a shitty blonde wig and I imitated my mother and father growing up. So I've got triplet brothers. So there's, 3.
That's wild.
Nicholas, Timothy, Adrian, they just turned 30. So they're 5 years younger than I am. And then there was, little Christian trying to be like, look at me though, look at me. And that's why I'm such an attention-seeking whore. And so I just brought our hectic family life and created this character, Trish. And then suddenly all parents could relate to this. I was like, oh, I'm onto something here. And it was getting like millions of views. I was like, wow, this is great. And so that inspired me to keep going and keep developing that whilst I was working full-time.
And so you developed the confidence through that as well because it was gaining so much
well, as
traction.
soon as you start getting a lot of views, you're like, and people are loving it, you're like, oh, great. This isn't cringe or embarrassing.
Yep.
I'll do that. That's the first hurdle is always just starting because I'd put it off for years. Like people were saying, make videos. And I put it off for maybe 2.5 years.
Yeah, right.
I was really pissed off. That's one of my regrets is because in that 2.5 years, at this point in my life, I would be 2.5 years ahead.
Plus the compound of the lessons, right?
Yeah, plus the money. So it's like, I wish I just started.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, my biggest advice is to just start. When you do something, you do have to get over, yes, my friends and family might see it, but don't tell them. They're not going to actively go looking for your profile.
They wouldn't recognise you with the blonde wig on though?
But my mum and dad and my brothers aren't even on Facebook. They don't use it as much as I do. And it's also so unlikely that it's going to end up in their feed.
Yep.
You just simply don't tell them. So you upload stuff. Same with podcasting. Just record episodes.
Yep.
Don't publish them. But then you've got them in the bag.
Yep.
And if you'll get to a moment where you feel comfortable and go, oh, I've got 10 episodes up my sleeve.
Use them.
So you just start going. You're never going to start at, level 85. It's always at 0.
Yep.
And so that is the biggest hurdle that I've seen people face is just, I'm not confident enough. Just shut up and just do it.
Yeah. Get it done.
Yeah. And so once I'd gotten over that and everything had started rolling out, I was getting interest from the station that I worked at. Like I'd been there for 7 years at that point.
And they'd never once...
And they knew I was a larrikin and I was great for like office morale.
Yep.
But I was like, can this office morale go on air? Like, ha 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 ha. And it was no. And then...
How did it feel getting... I don't know whether shut down's the right word, but continually
I was never shut
pushed
down,
back.
though.
But I don't know.
So the best way to say that is that was my own fault.
Okay.
I was never shut down. I believe I was owed a role on air.
Gotcha.
So there's a difference between chasing something and going, here's my resume, here's my video reel, here's all this, and going, I'll just sit back and be hilarious in the office, and then they'll just put me on air. And that's what I thought how naive. And so that was no one's fault but my own.
Yep.
In that situation. I'd always hinted that I wanted to do stuff, but that I channeled that into just doing it for myself.
Yep.
So thank God, in a way, because otherwise I wouldn't have the career I have if I'd been given an opportunity on radio. So I started making all these videos. I started the podcast. It does really, really well.
Your podcast's a bit naughty though, isn't it?
It's very X-rated.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of dick in mouth stories and stuff like that. And it does really well.
Yep.
And because I'm in a radio station and podcasting is quite new, they're like, ooh. And so they've just started podcasting at the station. And so that podcast was massive leverage.
Yep.
So every time I threw a tantrum or things happened, where I was like, oh, I'm out. Like, radio's done for me. They were like, no. What do you want? What do you want? Like your podcast, we're using that podcast to get our podcast numbers up. And I was like, well, I want an extra 20K a year. And they're like, absolutely. And I was like, oh, shit.
Take 40.
Yeah. So that podcast became leverage, and I just started it on a whim. And it wasn't supposed to be anything. But because I had built up the Facebook following enough to then tell people I have a podcast, I pushed them all over to that platform, which then exploded that, which then in turn led to the radio bosses going, what's happening over here? Oh, he could be quite an asset. And so I was like, wow, all this time I could have just done it myself. And here I was just sitting back waiting for someone to do it for me. And that was like, oh, that was a really good lesson. I was like, I'll just do it myself. I was like, that was a moment where I went, I actually don't need radio anymore. My goal is to now leave radio, earn a shit ton of money like a lot of the other YouTubers were doing at the time. And that's what I want to do. So I was like, I'll do that. And so I was like, well, I can't do it now. I need to still have a full-time income.
Yep.
And so the wage kept going up. It's so interesting. For the first 7 years, I earned really piss fucking nothing.
Yep.
And then in the last 2 years of my radio career, I earned twice as much that I had earned in the 7 years.
Really?
Yeah. So that was also an incredible lesson to say, like, you're building it in that first 7.
Yep.
So you're building it. Be bitter, be resentful, you're not getting paid much, but that was the building blocks of this moment. And so the biggest, like, ego boost was when I got a knock at the door from Kyle and Jackie O to say, it wasn't them personally, it was their boss. And I don't think they were looped in on this. But the head of Kyle and Jack was like, come over and you can be the digital producer for the show and the network. So like a massive role.
Yep.
Huge money, like twice what I was on. And I remember going, whoo, that is
delicious.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I thought, if I go over there and do this, I'm not going to have time to do my podcast, to do my sketch videos, to do anything. It's going to be super stressful, high pressure, and it's back in Sydney. So I was in Melbourne at the time, living a great life. And I thought, there was an opportunity within the network that I was in, so the rival network to KISS, and I thought it was going to be really great. It was a great opportunity. Obviously, you know, I was still on good money. And I just thought I can do this and sort of still do my own stuff. So I stayed. I don't regret staying, but what transpired over that 12 months was hard work. It was a lot of, you know, it was the first time working really on a breakfast show, you know, like morning television, you know, like your Sunrises and your Todays. This was a big deal.
Yep.
And there was a lot of pressure. And I ultimately didn't get... Look, like that's... Yeah. There's a lot of things that it's...
You don't know it, like hindsight.
You know when I said I've never been through trauma?
Yep.
I'm now realizing, for me, what I went through was, that was traumatic. And so I learnt a lot working in radio and in a high-pressure environment and with different people. And also, again, about myself, not vocalizing all the things that I was doing in that, 7 months that I was working on a breakfast show. That was my fault. Like, again, I fell back into this role of doing as much as I could to make this show successful, but then not telling people that I was there from, 5:30, 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. at night, continuously, burning out. And then people were wondering why I was rocking up to work late, being 6:30 a.m. But that's, and then I ultimately had a real breakdown, got really sick, got so sick. Because, when you're working 6 a.m. to 7, like a 13-hour day, every day, in such a high-pressure environment with a lot of work, you just burn yourself out. Yep. And I went, see ya! If I was to describe her as a human, it's spontaneous and inconsistent. So I have only ever done things spontaneously. I've never planned anything. So the only plan I had was to become Kyle. The rest, it was kind of spontaneous in the moment. Yep. Like, I'll make videos now. I'll do Trish. I'll do this. I'm moving to Brisbane. I'm buying a house. Yep. I'm going to buy a car. Yes, I'll do a stand-up comedy tour. Like, none of that was planned. It's just it's all spontaneously happened. And I called my boss and I said, I'm not coming in ever again.
How did you feel in that moment?
Such relief. Oh, I felt so good. He didn't.
I can imagine.
They all knew what was going on. They knew that this wasn't working and this was a disaster, and I was the first one to sort of pull the pin on that grenade and get out. And I never recovered. Like, I didn't recover from that. So from that moment, radio for me, fuck that shit. Like, piss off. Yeah. Like, it really...
Fuck off.
It really burnt me.
Yep.
And I got out. But again, the podcast and the video views is what saved me. got a call from, the boss. Take some time off. You're not quitting. Stay here.
You've signed your life.
Yeah, so our head of digital, who was an absolute Chris McWilliams. Oh my God, absolute lifesaver. I was terrified. I was like, I would rather not be earning any money than be doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
And I was on good money, so it was a lot to turn away from. And he's like, no, just stay, just take some time off, come back, we'll find. Yeah. No, I knew So anyway, that all happened, and that was the moment where I was like, ooh, I need to have a plan. I actually need to now have a plan of making this video thing a source of income and getting out. And I worked a lot with the head of digital for the network, Chris. So he was just so supportive of what I was doing. And so I was making more videos. I was also using, this won't get me into trouble, the company assets, so their videos and their editing software.
Yep.
And Chris tapped me on the shoulder and he's like, just as a warning, anything you make here, we own the IP of legally. I'm just letting you know. And I was like, oh, great. Okay. So stop making videos here. He's like, I would look at alternatives because, when you get up and leave, we as a company can go, well, we own all that. Delete it. Give it to us. Not that they would or ever have.
That's nice of him.
But he was like, okay, I can see where you're going and what you're wanting to do. Here are the steps. But he did it without saying it. And so then I bought a camera and I started making more videos and doing more things. I should point out, if we backtrack to before all the trauma and the disaster, I released a couple of videos. One where I'm mixing Milo. God, I thought I was so funny. I'm going to tell you this video and you're going to be like, that is not funny. So it's 20 seconds long and I'm like, how to make a Milo. And I just slide a Milo tin into a frame and a glass and I put 7, 8. Oh my God, he's filling up the glass. That's hilarious. And then I pour the milk into the tin of Milo and take the tin of Milo and drink from that. And so that sort of exploded out.
Yep.
And that caught the eye of my now manager, Luke.
Yep.
And he just called me. And I had maybe 20 or 30,000 followers at that point.
No?
Yeah, just now. No. And so I only had 20,000 followers.
So I'm so close to getting a call from management.
From Luke calling you up. And he was like, I want to manage you. And I was like, whoa, hang on, I've only been doing this for 6 months. And I don't make any money. How are you going to make your commission? And he was like, that's fine. We're just going to build it. We'll build it. I was like, all right. So I signed with him. And so that was a huge motivational boost.
Yep. And
so then all of the stuff happened. And I was at the point, I'd bought the new camera and I was starting to get sponsorship deals. And the money in sponsorships is insane. And then Luke said, you should do stand-up comedy. I was like, absolutely not. Never in a million years. That is the most terrifying thing.
I couldn't think of nothing more terrifying.
And he goes, ooh, I've actually booked 4 shows for you. I was like, oh, shit.
That's not the response I was hoping for.
I know. I was like, okay, fine. I'll do the 4 shows and then that's it. I'm not doing any more. So did the 4 shows while I was still working.
Did you have to make a show though?
Yes. Yeah. The premise of it was a live podcast. So I tried to set the bar low.
Yep.
I was like, this isn't comedy. I'm not stand-up comedy funny. So I set it as a live podcast. So it could just be a bit of a chit chat.
Yep.
We did 4 of them, 4 different states. They were, in my view, awful, so bad. But everyone loved them. And I was like, but why? And then the tour manager goes, here's what you made. And it was like $12,000 from 4 shows. And I was like, oh, what? That's a lot of money.
Book them up. Let's go again.
I was like, and what I wasn't aware of was Andrew, who's my tour manager, who he manages Jim Jeffries.
Yep.
And he manages...
Thanks for inviting me the other night too.
We went and saw Jim.
Touchy subject.
Is it? Emma was there. Why didn't? Yeah.
Because I wasn't invited by anyone. I know. No one invited me.
There's a reason. I'm kidding.
You got a session tomorrow.
I do. And I forgot where I was.
Jim Jeffries.
Oh, Andrew. So Andrew, what he had done is so those 4 shows were like a test to see whether he thought I could do a big tour. Mm-hmm. And so in the middle of that 4 shows, he booked another 16 around Australia.
Another 16?
Yeah. And I was like, no, thank you. And he goes, oh, well, look, he said to me, don't do a different show. So I was planning on doing 4 completely different shows every night. It was a live podcast. And he said, no. On the second night, he said, do that one. Do whatever you just did, do it again. It's very funny, very good. I'm like, oh, but people will know. He goes, no, they won't. We're going to Brisbane now. No one's following us. I'm like,
except for me.
But I can't do the same show. And he goes, that's what everyone does. They do the same show to a different audience. I'm like, oh, yeah. And so I was like, okay. And so I did another show and I did a little bit better. And then the next one was just a fraction better. And I was still awful and I still hated it, but I was a little bit more comfortable. So I'm like, okay, well, for $12,000 for 4 shows, I'm doing 16.
It's good.
80 grand. So I was like, absolutely. So I did it and hated it. But by the 16th show, I was so comfortable and I could completely understand how audiences, well, not completely, but worked.
Yep.
So when they weren't laughing, it didn't mean they hated it, which is what I thought. I was like, oh my God, they have to be laughing 24/7. No, it was sort of telling the story, building the story that I have up to the punchline or the joke, and then leading them in. And I was like, oh, I actually really like this. And then I said to Andrew, well, let's do another one next year. And so I'll write one over the course of the year. And so I've done 4 so far. Wow. And so what happened was that brought in my entire wage, basically. Yep. And I was like, oh, great, I can leave radio. I'll just do a tour. And there's my yearly wage and I'll get some sponsorships and we're all good. And so I made the call to leave. Now, at the time I left radio, I was working with Carrie and Tommy, who were the afternoon show. Yep. And they restored my faith in radio. I left on such a good note. Absolutely loved working on that show. And that taught me, I used Sonda, who was the executive producer, and then you had Caitlin and Annabelle, who were the senior and sort of junior producers, although Annabelle's got a lot of experience. You're going to hate me calling her that. How to function as a team. Yep. So I look at Sonda, Annabelle and Caitlin now, because I've got Christian, Ben and Phoebe at my team, and how would Sonda have done that and what roles does Caitlin play? And they were such a succinct team of people and they all got along and they all knew exactly what each role was. Yep. And so did Carrie and Tommy, and then their audio producer, and then I was their digital producer. It was just such a great machine that I was like, wow, I don't want to leave, but there's a shiny gold road over here and I'm about to go on my a tour, a big tour, and it's going to kill me still working for you guys and on weekends traveling and doing shows. And I said, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to take this opportunity. And they were so supportive. And they were like, oh, thank God he's gone. and
the show ever since has gone.
Yeah, and then I did it. Can I tell you such a baller story? 80 grand goes into my account at the end, thinking I'm not very good with money at this point. I was just on a walk in one of my many health kicks. I was like, oh, a Mazda dealership. Swanned on in. I was like, oh, that's a nice car. I didn't need a car. I didn't go anywhere. I still don't go anywhere. And I was like, I'll take one of those, thanks. And they're like, oh, well, let me show you the model down. I was like, no. Oh, okay. Let me just check the model down. And the first thing he said was, this one doesn't have heated seats. I was like, don't want it. Give me that, I want this one. White leather interiors, a sunroof, heated seats. And I was...
You live in Brisbane.
I was in Melbourne at the time.
Okay, gotcha.
And I just dropped, I was like, I'll pay cash. All up. And they were like, whoa. And they knew who I was. And I was trying to be like, do I get any serious celebrity discounts? No. And so I bought a car and then I started looking at property and that's when I went, oh, I live in Melbourne for myself now. I'm not tied to a job. I don't really like Melbourne. It's too cold. Yeah. It's awful. It's a beautiful city, but it's not for Christian. And so on the tours that I had done, they put me up in the Khalil. So the Khalil in Brisbane is top of the line.
Talk about baller.
I know, which I didn't realise, because who pays for everyone's accommodation? It comes out of the tour money. And so this is why Andrew, my tour manager, is so good. He'll book the top of the line hotels, and I don't have to cover them. But we stayed at the Khalil.
Do you want your trainer to come along next time?
Oh, yeah, have a PT.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I mean, no, I don't, because I hate touring now. It's too tiring. But then I was like, wow, this the valley, the good side of the valley, is really nice. And then New Farm, and I actually felt at such peace when I got there. every time I was touring, I was like, I wonder, maybe I could go to Brisbane. And I was up here for a sponsored Kmart thing.
Yep.
They put us up at the Khalil again. And so I just wandered, and it was a weekend. I looked at some open homes. And this is the spontaneous Christian.
Yep.
And I walked into one, and the real estate agent, Dimitri from Ray White in New Farm.
I know Dimitri.
Yeah. He was like, it's Christian oh my God. And he was like, I was like, this is great. And he was so friendly and so lovely. And I said, I really like this apartment. How much? I was like, okay, I'll take it. I was like, yep.
Cash.
Yeah, I'll take it. I tried to buy property in Melbourne before, so I knew the process.
Yep.
And I knew how quickly it was. Like, I got a home loan approved like that when I had a full-time job. And so I assumed, oh, yeah, they'll just approve me again. Nothing's changed except now I'm earning large chunks of money. So I signed the contract, pending approval.
Yep.
And then I hit up my mortgage broker again. And he's like, oh, no, we can't get you a loan. You haven't been in business for more than a year. I'm like, well, what about the last loan? And they're like, well, you had full-time employment. I was like, what? I've just had $25,000 deposit on a house. And he worked his magic, and ultimately,
got you there.
at the 11th hour, the bank said yes, and I moved to Brisbane. It was the best decision I ever made. And it's just, those are the types of things that, just buying a car on a whim, I mean, it's baller move.
But you got to learn.
Buying a house.
Fucking oath, baller move. Just like, I'll take that.
And so I've always been like, don't think about it. You probably should think about it. Just do it. Like, just get a podcast. You want to move to Brisbane? Just, I thought I was financially able to. Just move to Brisbane. Just do these things. Maybe not as irresponsible as buying a car when you don't need one, but like big life decisions, just don't think about it. Put a tiny little bit of thought.
Yep.
Like, well, if I go here and something happens, well, not even, like, no, you don't even need to put thought into it.
Just go, literally.
Just do it, experience it, learn from it, and if you have to come back home, then you have to come back home. Well, if something has to change, then it changes. And then the next time you got to make that spontaneous decision, you'll know pretty quickly, I'll do it this way.
100%.
And so that's how I've sort of ended up here is scrolling on TikTok. Oh my God, those girls are guessing paint colours. That looks fun. I'm going to do that. Duet. It's purple. Oh, I got it right. And then that got like 20 million views.
That is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
That it's even like Amy and Emma's TikToks the other day on the trolleys, and they made the paper.
Yeah.
They made the paper for it.
They were in the States, and I loved because it just came up on my For You page.
Yeah.
It's George and Amy putting a trolley in the States. The trolley has its own escalator.
Yeah.
So you click it in, and George is losing his mind. But in the comments, everyone's like, we have those here, except we have ramps instead of stairs. So you take it with you. I was like, oh, yeah. But it was just such a mind-blowing, weird thing. Yeah.
Like,
I know, right? You can write hundreds of songs. No, it's a trolley and an escalator. It's just the most weirdest things.
I don't even know where to go with that. But let's talk how we met. I actually remember the first time I met you. Do you remember? Probably not. When you bought a bird cage off Linda.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That was very intimidating. So I went through a stage of where I wanted old bird cages as decorations.
You were about to say old birds. I was like, nice, man.
I mean, have you seen Linda though? She's
a fox.
Oh, she's always at the gym when I'm at the gym. And I'm like, hello. And then you rock up. I'm like, oh, that's right. Oh, hello, lucky. She sold me $1 million bird cage for next to nothing, and you were all there,
just staring at you.
And I was like, so this is the band Shepherd, and I'm in
and this weirdo who's
home. What is happening? I don't think I knew anything about you.
No, I was. When was it? That must have been like 20. I can't even remember, to be honest.
2019. It would have been. It would have been before the pandemic or the start of 2020 when we could go and mingle with people.
Anyway,
and then because God, I waffle on a lot, don't I? Moved to Brisbane. I had a big explosion. Made a lot of money through selling pendants and hired.
Oh, that's right, the pendants. Yeah, you went.
Yeah, $500,000 in 6 months. And then, so that exploded.
Then you could afford me.
Then I could afford you. Well, then I was like, well, now I need to expand the business. I've got all this money. So I hired Ben and Phoebe. and I started spending all the money that I had made without realizing BAS and tax are a thing.
Those cheeky little
And
things.
then what happened was I got to a point where I had all this money in my account. In one bank account, there was like, $500,000. So you hire the team, you hire the staff, I buy all the furniture for my house. We do all these fun things. I buy all this new gear. And then my accountant goes, it's tax time. You owe $200,000. And I'm like, oh, hang on. I've expanded my merch store. I've expanded my business. I don't have that money. And then invoices started coming in. I was like, oh, shit. So 500, 400, 300, 200, 150, 20, 5. It got down to $2,100.
How'd you feel?
I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to fire Ben and Phoebe. Like, they've just moved from Sydney and Melbourne. And I thought, shit. And my manager was calling me being like, you're going to have to fire Ben and Phoebe. And I was like, I can't do that. And that's when I had this huge sort of very pivotal moment where I was like, oh, Christian needs to be business-minded Christian. Like, he can't be fun, frugal, spontaneous, no planning Christian anymore. And that's when my personality just split. And that's when the mental breakdown happened. Yep. And that's when, after a while, Ben was like, you should see a life coach. I know the perfect person. And he does lots of things with people who have businesses. Lachlan Stuart. And I was like, I can't afford, I have no money. But I like the idea, but not ready yet. And Ben was like, oh, you should do this. And I think he must have been saying something to you at the time. And he was like, this is what he can do. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I think then we had a meeting after a few sponsorship things happened. And my brother had, he reads all the self-help books. Yep. And he was like, oh, this is what you have to do. Split your account into 4 and manage it this way, which I do.
The Barefoot Investor or something.
I read The Barefoot Investor, and I read this Profit First method, and I was like, that changed everything. So I was like, right, here's how I need to manage everything. And when money comes in, I literally put it into the wages account. Yeah. Wages. Straight into wages. Boom. And tax. And so then that's when I met you. When I was like, what do I do with my team? Like, how do I manage people and how do I run a business and how do I do all that? And also, I'm fat, I need help. And you were like, I can help with both of those things.
And here we are.
Yeah, and here we are
but
now.
But it's been interesting to watch because obviously you've worked out in that process that you fucking hate touring, and touring was something that sort of got in the way of our progress.
Touring, getting on stage and performing a show is so fun. Like, it's the most fun experience. When you get off stage, it's the worst. It's travel, it's hotels in and out, it's no sleep,
food,
it's a lot of adrenaline. Yeah, food, because you finish at 9:30 at night. Yep. Everything's closed. I don't pre-plan. You can't cook meals and bring them with you. So it's just like, well, McDonald's is the only thing open. And then you just get tired, and then I get grumpy, and then when you're touring, you've also got 2 other businesses going on. I'm like, oh, I don't want to have to do that. Yep. So then they fall on hold, and then when that tour finishes, I now have to get back into a rhythm. Yep. And so what would happen is I'd get back into that rhythm, and then I got another 2 weeks of shows. So I'd fall back into touring, and it was just a disaster. And because of COVID, shows were cancelled, rescheduled, postponed, and over 12 months, I was just so over. And did my last shows about a month ago, and I said to Andrew, my tour manager, I love you, but I'm doing that for a while. He's like, you should do here in November. I'm like, nope.
Hell no.
Yeah, so I just wanted a break from it.
Yep.
And that is so exhausting. And now I don't have that anymore. I feel like I am so free and on track. And I really do feel for my team, Ben and Phoebe, because I am so unstructured. I'm sure Ben's told you. I've got no plan. I'm spontaneous and have no plan. And when you have staff, they look at me like, well, what are we doing today? I'm like, well, just do whatever you want. I don't know. And they're like, it's your business. You hired us.
You're paying us.
You have to tell us. And I'm like, I don't know. I just do things on
holiday.
a whim. Yeah. And they're like, this isn't fun. I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. All right. And then it's now, and it's also like, wages are a continual thing that come out regardless.
Yeah, they don't just
so that's another business thing. And so it's like, okay, I have to make sure each month we're bringing in a certain amount of money. So then there's this tiny little bit of planning that has to go into play, which I've hated, but now I'm used to it. And it's just getting used to it's a whole different thing. Like in radio, it's done for you. They pay you a wage. You make some videos on Facebook. There's, all the finance people, all the sales people. There's the head of the network. There's the talent. There's the producers. What people don't realize about, what I do or what you do is that you are Channel 10. Just you, one person.
I'm bigger.
You have to produce. Sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I was like, I'm bigger.
Oh, Channel 7?
7, yeah. Okay, 7.
Channel 7. You have to do everything yourself.
Yep.
And people just see you as the host. Oh, he just gets to swan in and talk to whoever he wants.
Yeah, they don't see any of the...
And a lot of people assume they're like, oh, well, obviously you have minions liking and replying to all your comments. I'm like, no, I do it all. Now I've got Phoebe, she does it all.
Yep.
But they think that...
It just happens.
It just happens. And so it's just a lot... Like, it's not just guessing paint colours.
It's a lot of pressure. Well, literally, developing a whole business. Like, it's the same for me. People go, I love your... I see people try to do what I do all the time. And then 3 months later, they're no longer doing it because I'm not just like a coach or a PT. Like, I have a whole fucking business that's doing stuff for other people as well. And it's like you're still trying to do what's fulfilling. Like, for me, podcasting or coaching one-on-one, I still love that and running the events. But it's also like I'm fucking doing management,
staff development.
Yeah, staff development, working out what the fuck's happening next month. Like, and all of these things then have to take thinking time, planning time, collaborations potential, like all of that sort of stuff. And it's like, you don't stop. And then people are like, you got a good life. And you're like, I do.
It's funny because we do have a good life.
Yes.
It's just when it's like when, this is a terrible analogy, but when you're losing weight, let's say, rather than putting it on, when you lose the weight, when you do it so slowly, you don't notice. And then suddenly you're 5 or 6 kilos down and you haven't seen someone in a while, they can tell.
They go, wow,
you have a good life. You've lost all this weight. It's like, oh, I have too. When you're in it, it's just a chaotic nightmare.
Yep.
And then you need to sort of sit back and go, whoa, I've come so far in a year. You've got to reflect. But it is, a lot of people just don't understand. Like, they think it's...
just happens.
A lot of the paint guessing for me was like, I've done so much else. I know I keep referring to the paint guessing.
But the paint guessing...
But it got me in Time magazine. What is going on? People were like...
it's like, isn't it for scholars and like...
Yes, for scientists and smart people. And I guess people, they were quite offended because after that it was, well, he got his success from paint guessing. Oh, the only reason he makes all this money from merch is the paint guessing. This will wear off. But it's sort of like, well, no, I was pushed into the world. Like, I'd still slowly built up this base.
Yep.
And then it's like a spike.
Yep.
And so the people that were brought in... It was also funny from a perspective of I went viral for swearing into these pendants. So the merch thing that I started accidentally was making resin jewellery as a way to cope with COVID and social distancing, is that I'd make this piece of jewellery, scream abuse into it to charge it with negative energies. You know, fuck off, piss off, you dickhead, stand away. And then it went viral on TikTok. Then the paint guessing happened. And it was so funny when I then would reshare the pendants, people going, oh my God, the paint guessing guy's the fuck off pendant guy. Like like it was just such a weird thing that they're only seeing what they get served on their For You page, and they couldn't work out. It was just a weird thing.
Well, I don't think that it's like what we were saying with the attention, like they don't actually read into the article. It's like musicians, you know songs, but you don't know who the band is anymore because you just like, feel like it next.
Yes.
And that's what we don't, whether we afford enough time or spend enough time to look into what else is going on. That's why we bought a record player. I bought Amy one purely because I'm like, buy a record and listen to the whole fucking album rather than going...
You can't skip.
Yeah, it's like, turn it over. And whereas now it's like, oh, Spotify, I don't want that skip. And it's like, how about you just enjoy...
Yeah.
Going through what people like, looking at all the Christians' TikTok videos or listening to a whole catalogue of things.
But that's by design.
Yeah.
Like, the app's designed for you to get as much pleasure so you stay on there longer.
Have you listened to Stolen Focus yet by Johann Hari?
Yeah. No, was I supposed to?
You should.
Okay.
I think I've told you about it.
Stolen focus. Yeah, I think you have.
It's about what social media and our phones are doing for us, and obviously the guys who created certain things at Google and Facebook, and now they're talking out about it, why they won't let their children use the platforms and stuff.
You did.
But like YouTube, I was listening to a part on YouTube last night, and it's like the algorithms you search and the headlines, as you said, like boom, fear, whatever, and then it'll like feed you another one that's a little bit further down the rabbit hole, then another one. Then the next one, the fourth one generally is like the complete polar opposite. So then it's like there to shock you and you're like, fuck that, I'm going to see what that does. And it just keeps you on here. And, you know, it's not, they're talking about the radicalization of people and opinions because we just get fed stuff to keep fueling a certain belief.
Well, so this was the fascinating thing. I don't know if true, because again, when you read something, you don't know how true it is. ByteDance, who owns TikTok, are based in China. And what it is believed that happens is within China, on TikTok, they promote the accounts that are intellectual, that are science-based, that are informative, that are informational. So that really...
I don't know why I haven't been promoted yet.
They I'll tell you why. Because they really reward like innovation. As what they promote, if you live in the States, the UK, and in anywhere else but China, is teens doing 20-second dances. So that's what's rewarded. And what I read an opinion piece from someone is they are dumbing down the youth and the culture and making it that if you want to be famous and successful, just do a bit of a shake, be dumb. Well, it's not dumb. I don't want to call them dumb, but like it's not about innovation. It's not about, you know...
Well, it's literally some of the things I watch at the moment is like this stupid dance where they like tap 3 times. And I'm like... And they're getting like 500,000
like,
views.
I can understand dancing is great and dancing is fun, but the most followed person on TikTok over in China is, you know, like you Greta Thunberg-esque, you know, very emotional, smart. I don't want to call them dumb in the States.
I know
the biggest it's Charli D'Amelio, and she's very smart in what she's been able to do, but it's like she's just doing some dancing. Mm-hmm. And I know it's not, if you know what I mean. I know that
some
sounds
people are going to
awful
interpret
to her,
it wrong.
And all power to her, but what's happening is it's so... what they're promoting, and they're using it as a form of, it's a tool. It's almost like a weapon.
It is.
And we don't realise.
Legitimately, it is.
You know, so next minute, you know, all I'm getting is just...
And then people go, oh, I want to be famous too. That's what I got to do. It's like when we
all I got to do is guess paint colours.
It's like when we grew up, it's like you know, athlete, scholar, or, you know, movie star or something, like someone who's, just essentially someone at the top of their field. That brings a lot. And once again, people, I assume obviously people are getting value from it. That's why they're getting so many fucking views. But for me, and once again, this is probably it's all subjective based on what we want as individuals. It's like that's, you know, the Chinese way of doing things. If it's intellectual, I probably prefer that because I enjoy reading, I enjoy learning, I am curious about things. Whereas some people, like like watching cool dances as well. But there's some that I'm just like, I can't get my head around the fact that is a viral thing. Like it's not even a crazy ass dance. It's just something that is like...
I look at it, and
like
as an old person, I don't understand the children and their dancing. I look at it and go, well, Charlie's obviously providing something for young girls for them to connect with her. But I just don't understand... Through 20-second dances? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
If she's providing that comfort and that relatability, great. But as a 35-year-old, I just don't see it. Like she doesn't talk anymore. I mean, the poor thing, because she's so followed, she can't take a breath without being criticised by everyone. Yeah. So I feel like she can't open up and she can't sort of talk about her life so much because of the pile-on that happens.
Yes.
So then I go, well, why is this? How are we promoting this young girl into rapid stardom and then criticising her? She's older now, but these are kids, and we expect them to know and have so much life experience. You know, and they will say really awful things on Twitter. They will make mistakes, and then we don't let them learn and grow.
They should
know at 16.
Fuck, I didn't know my ass from my elbow till about
yesterday.
Now. Yeah. It all looks the same to me.
You said that to me once, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's your ass. Can I rub your elbow? I need to massage. I'm a bit gross.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
But, Christian, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
It's been really fun.
I can't wait to see how much gets edited out. Do you edit any of it?
No.
Yeah, great. Don't even bother. It's too much effort.
Well, one thing that I just don't like, I watch some podcasts, I'm like, when you see cuts and edits, like, have they cut something out that they want to like be portrayed a certain way? I just love authenticity, and it's like if I say the wrong thing, or as we just said, we can say the wrong thing and look back and go, didn't mean to say that way. That's how it comes.
People will tell you if you say the wrong thing, and then you just got to learn from it. You get cancelled for a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't got cancelled yet. I'm not big enough to get cancelled.
I don't think we're controversial enough. Fuck. You do have to be careful though, like the Charlie thing, for example. Yeah. Not that I think any Charlie D'Amelio fans would. Should I
love a good soundbite?
Oh my god!
Imagine the soundbite. And
use a clickable article.
Could I do that? Christian Hull bags. TikTok war of what? Should we do that?
You can.
Let's test it.
Oh, I don't know if I want to be tested, but
no, we won't unless you give me the tick of approval. But we can test that.
That would be a really interesting experiment.
But what?
You manipulate.
Shall we do it?
Get back to me. I'm too scared of the kids.
Yeah, me too. But still the fucking kids. But one question for you: what are you going to do today that's going to make you better for tomorrow?
I'm going to a Disney exhibition.
Fantastic.
And that's going to teach me to be more princessy. I don't know. What am I going to do today? Oh, I don't know. Such a big question.
Is it a rest day?
Yeah.
It is a rest day, so that's going to be good.
I've been going to the gym a lot. I mean,
you've been on fire.
You can't tell from the video.
Your consistency lately has been very, very impressive.
Thank
you.
We
got a session tomorrow, so rest up.
Yeah, well, I'm tired.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. That's a very formal handshake.
I know. I feel weird because I always hug and fist bump, but then sometimes
I'm too gay for a handshake. That's the thing.
Well, I'm just too unprofessional for a handshake too, so fuck fist bump.
Oh, yeah, that's better. That's what we do.
More genuine.